They say when a woman is broken, she either crumbles or becomes unbreakable. My billionaire husband threw me away like yesterday's trash when I needed him most. But baby, he had no idea he wasn't just losing a wife. He was creating his own destruction. Before we dive into this story, that'll have you questioning everything you thought you knew about love, betrayal, and revenge. Make sure you hit that subscribe button and ring the notification bell. Trust me, you don't want to miss what happens next. And drop a comment telling me, have you ever had someone underestimate you? Let's get into it. My name is Candace, and if you had told me 5 years ago that I'd be sitting here as the CEO of a billion-dollar tech empire, I would have laughed in your face. Not because I didn't believe in myself, but because I was so busy believing in someone else. Someone who saw me as nothing more than a beautiful accessory to his already perfect life. I met Trevor at a tech conference in Silicon Valley. I was there representing the marketing firm, where I'd worked my way up from an intern to senior executive. He was the golden boy, 35, brilliant, and worth more money than most people see in 10 lifetimes. His company, Digital Dynamics, was revolutionizing cloud computing, and everyone wanted a piece of him. But somehow, in a room full of investors and tech moguls, he chose to talk to me. The courtship was like something out of a fairy tale. Private jets to Paris for dinner, front row seats at Fashion Week, jewelry that cost more than most people's houses. I thought I was living in a dream. And maybe I was, because dreams, as we all know, eventually end. We got married in Napa Valley, with 300 of the most powerful people in tech and business watching us exchange vows. I wore a dress that cost $60,000, and the wedding made the cover of 3 magazines. Standing there in that vineyard, promising to love each other through sickness and health, I believed every single word. I thought he did too. For 3 years, I played the part perfectly. The supportive wife who gave up her own career to manage our social calendar, plan charity events, and look stunning on his arm at every function. I told myself I was happy. I told myself that love meant sacrifice. I told myself that my dreams could wait because I was living someone else's dream. But life has a way of testing everything you think you know about yourself. It started with little things. A persistent cough that wouldn't go away. Fatigue that rest couldn't cure. Night sweats that left me changing sheets at 3 in the morning. Trevor barely noticed. He was always traveling, always in meetings, always focused on the next deal, the next acquisition, the next milestone in his empire. When I finally went to the doctor, I expected them to tell me I was working too hard, or maybe had the flu. I never expected to hear the word that changes everything. Cancer, breast cancer, to be exact. Early stage, they said. Treatable, they said. But all I heard was that word echoing in my head like a death sentence. I remember sitting in that sterile doctor's office, staring at the pamphlets about treatment options. And my first thought wasn't about my own mortality. It was about how I was going to tell Trevor, how I was going to explain that his perfect wife was suddenly very imperfect, how I was going to ask him to love me when I might lose my hair, my breasts, my strength, all the things that I thought made me valuable to him. I drove home in a daze, practicing the words. Honey, I have something to tell you. Trevor, we need to talk. Babe, I got some news today. Nothing sounded right. How do you tell the person you love that your world just shifted on its axis? He was in his office when I got home, on a video call with investors in Japan. I waited outside his door for 2 hours, listening to him laugh and negotiate and plan for a future that suddenly felt very uncertain. When he finally came out, he barely looked at me. Hey babe, I'm flying to Seattle in the morning. Big meeting with Microsoft. Don't wait up tonight. Trevor, I need to talk to you about something important. He was already walking toward the kitchen, checking his phone. Can it wait? I've got 3 more calls tonight. I followed him, my heart pounding. I went to the doctor today. That got his attention for about 5 seconds. He looked up from his phone, saw my face, and I watched something shift in his expression. Not concern, not love. Something that looked almost like inconvenience. What's wrong? he asked, but his tone suggested he didn't really want to know. I have breast cancer. The silence that followed felt like it lasted forever. He set his phone down on the marble counter, and for a moment, I thought he was going to hug me, tell me everything would be okay, promise that we'd fight this together. Instead, he asked, "How bad is it?" Not, "Are you okay?" Not, "What do you need?" Just, "How bad is it?" Like I was a problem to be solved, rather than the woman he'd promised to love. In sickness and in health, I told him what the doctor had said. Early stage, good prognosis, would need surgery and chemotherapy. As I spoke, I watched his face, looking for any sign of the man who used to tell me I was his whole world. But that man was gone, replaced by someone calculating the impact this would have on his life, his image, his perfectly curated existence. "We'll get through this," he said finally, but his voice was flat, rehearsed. "I'll have my assistant research the best doctors." His assistant, not "I'll research" or "We'll figure this out together." His assistant would handle it, like everything else that threatened to disrupt his world. The next few weeks were a blur of medical appointments, treatment plans, and surgery consultations. Trevor came to exactly one appointment, the consultation with the surgeon, and spent most of it on his phone, stepping out to take urgent calls. I started bringing my sister Angela instead. At least she held my hand and asked the right questions. The surgery was scheduled for a Tuesday. Trevor flew to London the Sunday before for a crucial business meeting that couldn't be rescheduled. I had the surgery with Angela by my side, woke up to her face, and recovered with her help. Trevor sent flowers from London, expensive ones, like that made up for anything. But the real betrayal came during chemotherapy. I was 3 treatments in, had lost most of my hair despite the cold cap treatments, and was feeling like a shadow of myself. I was supposed to drive myself to treatment that Thursday, but I was so weak, Angela had to take me. Walking into the oncology clinic, I saw him, Trevor, my husband, sitting in the waiting area with his arms around a woman I'd seen a dozen times at company events. His assistant, Brooke, 26 years old, blonde, everything I used to be before cancer tried to steal my life. They were holding hands, actually holding hands in the cancer center where his wife was getting treated. When he saw me, the color drained from his face, but he didn't let go of her hand. He didn't jump up and pretend. He just sat there like he'd been caught taking an extra cookie, not cheating on his wife, who was fighting for her life. "Candace," he said, and my name sounded foreign in his mouth. I couldn't speak. I couldn't breathe. Angela was saying something, but all I could hear was the sound of my heart breaking so loudly, I thought everyone in that waiting room must have heard it shatter. That night, after my treatment, after Angela drove me home and put me to bed, I found Trevor in his office, not packing, not crying, not even looking guilty, just working like it was any other day. "How long?" I asked from the doorway. He didn't pretend not to know what I meant. 8 months. 8 months. My entire diagnosis, surgery, and treatment had been 8 months. He'd been cheating on me from the moment I got sick, maybe before. "I want you to leave," I whispered. "Candace, let me explain. Get out of my house." "Actually," he said, and his voice changed, became colder, more businesslike. "It's my house. Everything is in my name. The cars, the accounts, everything. I've already had divorce papers drawn up. You'll get a settlement, obviously, but you're divorcing me while I have cancer." He had the decency to look uncomfortable for about 2 seconds. "I'm not happy about the timing, but we both know this marriage has been over for a while. We want different things. Different things. I wanted a husband who would love me through the hardest time of my life. He wanted a woman who wouldn't get sick, wouldn't lose her hair, wouldn't remind him that life isn't always perfect." The divorce was swift and brutal. His lawyers were sharks, and I was too sick and heartbroken to fight properly. I got a settlement that seemed generous to everyone else, but felt like hush money to me. Enough to buy a nice house, pay for my treatment, and live comfortably while I figured out what came next. but it was nothing compared to what we'd built together, nothing compared to what I'd given up for him. The worst part wasn't the money. It was watching our mutual friends choose sides, and almost all of them chose his. It was seeing pictures of him and Brooke at events I used to attend, in magazines that used to feature us together. It was realizing that in his world, I'd become invisible the moment I became inconvenient. I finished my treatment alone. Well, not completely alone. Angela never left my side, and my parents flew in from Atlanta to help. But I felt like I was floating in space, untethered from everything I thought I knew about my life. The cancer was responding well to treatment. My hair was starting to grow back, but inside I felt empty, hollowed out, like I'd died and was just waiting for my body to catch up. That's when my grandmother's lawyer called. Grandma Rose had passed away 2 months earlier, right in the middle of my treatment. I'd been too sick to travel to her funeral, something I still regret, but she'd left me something in her will, a small tech company she'd invested in years earlier. Apparently, my brilliant grandmother had been buying stock in small tech startups long before anyone knew they were gold mines. The company was called Innovate AI. And when I looked into it, I realized it was exactly what the name suggested: artificial intelligence technology that was years ahead of what most people were doing. The founder was a young woman named Nia, who'd dropped out of MIT to chase her vision of AI that could actually understand and respond to human emotion, not just process data. I met Nia at a coffee shop in downtown San Francisco. She was 24, brilliant, and completely broke. Her technology was revolutionary, but she had no business experience, no connections, and no idea how to scale what she'd built. She'd been trying to get meetings with investors for 2 years, but everyone wanted to change her vision, take control of her company, or both. Sitting across from her, listening to her talk about artificial intelligence that could recognize patterns in human behavior, predict needs, and adapt to individual users, I felt something I hadn't felt in months: excitement, purpose, the recognition that I was looking at the future, and it was being built by someone who reminded me of myself before I'd lost my way in someone else's dream. I invested everything. The entire divorce settlement went into Innovate AI. Angela thought I'd lost my mind. My parents were worried I was making emotional decisions while still recovering from cancer. But for the first time in years, I felt like I was exactly where I was supposed to be. Nia and I made an incredible team. She was the brilliant visionary, and I brought business experience, connections from my marketing days, and a desperate hunger to build something that belonged to me. We worked 18-hour days, lived on coffee and takeout, and slowly, carefully, began to build something extraordinary. The technology was incredible, but we needed to prove it worked in real-world applications. We started small, creating AI customer service systems for local businesses, then moved into predictive analytics for e-commerce companies. Every client we served became a case study. Every success story became proof that our technology wasn't just innovative, it was essential. Within 18 months, we had contracts with 3 Fortune 500 companies. Within 2 years, we were fielding calls from venture capital firms who'd ignored Nia for years. The same investors who dismissed her when she was a broke college dropout were now begging for meetings. But the moment I knew we'd truly made it was when Trevor called. I was in our new office, still small, but growing, when my assistant told me Trevor Hartwell was online too. I hadn't heard from him since the divorce was finalized 2 years earlier. I almost didn't take the call, but curiosity got the better of me. "Candace," he said, and his voice had that same charm I'd fallen for years ago. "I heard about your company. Congratulations." "Thank you," I said simply. "I was actually calling because I think there might be an opportunity for us to work together. Digital Dynamics is looking to expand into AI, and from what I've heard, you've built something impressive." The audacity was breathtaking. The man who'd divorced me for getting cancer now wanted to partner with me because I'd built something he wanted. "I appreciate the call, Trevor, but we're not looking for partners right now. Come on, Candace. Don't let personal feelings interfere with a good business opportunity. We could do incredible things together. Personal feelings, like his betrayal was just a minor disagreement we should get over for the sake of business. I have to go, I said. Think about it, okay? We both know you're still learning the tech world. You could use my expertise. That's when I knew. He had no idea how successful we'd actually become. He thought I was playing at being a businesswoman, that I'd built a cute little company that might be worth acquiring. He had no idea that Innovate AI was about to disrupt his entire industry. 6 months later, we announced our Series C funding round, $50 million, led by one of the most prestigious venture capital firms in Silicon Valley. The same week, we launched our enterprise platform that could integrate with any existing business system and immediately improve efficiency by 40%. Trevor's company lost 3 major clients that month. All 3 switched to our platform. The tech press started calling it the Innovate AI effect. Companies that implemented our AI saw immediate improvements in customer satisfaction, employee productivity, and bottom-line profits. We weren't just offering better technology, we were offering transformation. Trevor called again. This time, his tone was different. Candace, we need to talk. About what? You know what? Your company is targeting my clients. We're not targeting anyone. We're offering a better product, and the market is responding. This is personal, and we both know it. Actually, Trevor, this is business. Something you taught me the difference between. The calls became more frequent, more desperate. His company's stock price was dropping as more clients switched to our platform. Investors were asking questions about Digital Dynamics' ability to compete in the new AI-driven market. The golden boy was looking tarnished. Then came the offer I'd been waiting for. Trevor requested a meeting, not a phone call, an actual meeting. He came to my office, our beautiful new office, with floor-to-ceiling windows and a team of brilliant engineers, and I could see him calculating, evaluating, trying to figure out how the woman he'd thrown away had built something that threatened his empire. I want to acquire Innovate AI, he said, sitting across from my desk. It's not for sale. Everything is for sale at the right price. Name your number. I leaned back in my chair and studied the man I'd once loved enough to give up my own dreams for. He looked older, more tired. Success, without satisfaction, written in the lines around his eyes. Actually, Trevor, I have a different proposal. He perked up, thinking I was going to negotiate. Digital Dynamics is struggling. Your technology is outdated. Your client base is shrinking. And your stock price reflects that reality. I'm prepared to acquire Digital Dynamics for 60% of its current market value. The silence that followed was everything I'd dreamed it would be. Trevor's face went through shock, anger, and finally a desperate kind of calculation. You can't be serious. Dead serious. My lawyers are prepared to make a formal offer. Candace, you're letting emotion cloud your business judgment. On the contrary, this is purely business. Your company is a liability in the current market. My company has the technology to modernize it. It's a smart acquisition. He stood up, his composure finally cracking. You think this is about revenge? I think this is about building the future. Something you taught me to recognize when I see it. 3 months later, Innovate AI acquired Digital Dynamics. The deal made headlines in every tech publication. From divorce settlement to tech empire, how Candace Williams built the future. Read the Forbes cover story. The article detailed my journey from abandoned wife to industry titan, but it missed the real story. This was never about revenge. Revenge is small, petty, focused on the past. This was about transformation, about taking the worst thing that ever happened to me and turning it into the foundation for something extraordinary. The day the acquisition was finalized, Trevor cleaned out his office. I watched from my window as he loaded boxes into his car, no longer the powerful executive, but just another casualty of an industry that moves too fast for anyone to stand still. He looked up at my window before he left, and for a moment, I saw the man I'd married, the one who'd promised to love me in sickness and in health. But that man had been an illusion, a character he'd played until the script demanded too much of him. Today, Innovate AI employs over 3,000 people. Our technology powers everything from hospital systems that save lives to educational platforms that help kids learn faster. We've created something that makes the world better, not just more profitable. My cancer has been in remission for 3 years now. I still go for regular checkups, still feel that flutter of fear before each scan. But I've learned that survival isn't just about beating disease. It's about beating the parts of yourself that accept less than you deserve. People ask me if I'm happy now, and the question always makes me smile. Happiness is such a small word for what I feel. I'm powerful. I'm purposeful. I'm exactly